On her 28th birthday, February 9th, 2024, lyric Lashundrea Backus never came home alive. Beside her was her 7-year-old son, Quimby Harris Jr., better known to family and friends as Deuce. Together, mother and son were discovered lifeless inside their garage in Seagoville, Texas. What should have been a day of joy, a day of reflection, and a day of celebration turned into a devastating moment of loss that continues to ripple through her family, her community, and her supporters. It was the kind of tragedy that stuns people into silence because the very circumstances seem both surreal and cruel. A young woman dying on the very day she was born, and her child, her daily companion, gone with her. Lyric's story begins far before that day. She was born on February 9th, 1996. Those who knew her best described her as vibrant, driven, and deeply committed to both her family and her entrepreneurial dreams. She had a bold sense of style and a keen sense for business. Out of that vision, she launched Lyric's Closett, her personal boutique brand. It was more than just a small business. It was her way of building independence, creating opportunities, and inspiring others, especially other young Black women, to chase their own ambitions. Every morning, her followers could count on her. She posted outfit reveals, motivational captions, and engaging content. Lyric was consistent, reliable, and intentional about showing up for her audience. It wasn't just about clothes, it was about presence. She created a space where style met resilience. But behind every business post and every curated image was something much deeper. Lyric's role as a mother. Her son, Deuce, wasn't just part of her life, he was central to it. Friends often remarked that they were a team, a duo, almost inseparable. Lyric didn't keep her son hidden away from the world. Instead, she celebrated him. She called him her co-star. Every step she took in her entrepreneurial journey was tied to the fact that she wanted to give Deuce the best life possible, to provide, to nurture, and to model what determination looks like. That mother-son bond made their story resonate with so many people, even beyond those who knew them personally. When you saw Lyric, you saw Deuce. And when you saw Deuce, you saw the reflection of his mother's love. That's what makes the silence of February 9th so chilling. Normally, Lyric's online community could expect birthday posts, celebratory pictures, perhaps a special outfit reveal. She was not the kind of person who missed those milestones. She was committed not just to her brand, but to marking those personal moments with the people who followed her. But on that Friday morning, the usual rhythm of her life stopped. No new post, no update, no story. For someone so diligent about her presence, the absence was alarming. For her family, the silence became unbearable. Hours ticked by and the unease grew heavier. Later that day, the unthinkable happened. Lyric and her son were found unresponsive in their garage. Reports confirmed that the discovery was made inside their home on Seagoville Road. The image is one no family ever forgets. A young woman and her child, both lifeless in a space meant to provide shelter and safety. It was devastating. It was unexplainable in the moment, and it left everyone asking, how could this be? The Seagoville Police Department launched an investigation. Early on, officials confirmed the deaths and began reviewing the circumstances. While law enforcement did not immediately issue a conclusive cause to the public, Lyric's family shared their belief with local station WFAA. They suspected carbon monoxide poisoning. According to them, the evidence and the setting pointed toward exposure to this silent, invisible gas. For many, that belief struck a chord, because carbon monoxide is a danger most people don't think about until it's too late. Odorless, colorless, and deadly, it is often called the silent killer. Families nationwide have lost loved ones in similar ways, running cars in garages, malfunctioning heaters, poorly ventilated spaces. What makes carbon monoxide so terrifying is its invisibility. You don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't hear it, You simply stop being able to survive in its presence. For Lyric's loved ones, the details mattered less than the crushing reality. 2 vibrant lives gone in one moment. The Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office later released official information confirming the timeline. Lyric was born February 9, 1996, and she died on February 9, 2024, the day she should have been celebrating turning 28. For Deuce, it was the abrupt end of a childhood filled with promise. His obituary noted his energy, his joy, and the love he brought into every room. The finality of those dates, birth and death aligned on the same day for his mother, left people with a deep sense of sorrow. It felt like an unfinished story, cut short at the very moment it should have been celebrated. The community's grief was immediate and overwhelming. Friends, supporters, and customers of Lyric's boutique expressed shock and sadness. They remembered her consistency, her hustle, and her authenticity. Family members took to social media to share their pain, asking people not to circulate insensitive images or rumors, but instead to honor her memory and respect their grief. Obituary tributes reflected both devastation and reverence. Lyric was described as a light, a mother whose love was unmatched, and a woman whose drive inspired others. For Deuce, words like joyful and beloved appeared again and again. On February 23rd and 24th, 2024, funeral services were held to honor them both. It was not just a burial, it was a public acknowledgement of lives that touched so many, even in just a short time. The services brought together family, friends, and an entire community still grappling with the senselessness of what had happened. As those tributes poured in, another conversation began to take shape, one rooted in prevention and awareness. Carbon monoxide. The very words felt abstract, but the consequences were devastatingly real. Across the country, more than 400 people die each year from unintentional carbon monoxide poisoning. Thousands more are hospitalized. And the causes are often preventable. Vehicles left running in enclosed garages, blocked vents, faulty appliances, or the absence of working carbon monoxide detectors in homes. Experts call silent killer for a reason. Unlike fire or smoke, which announce their danger, CO creeps in quietly, disabling and killing without warning. Lyric's story, while heartbreaking, also became a moment to sound the alarm. If indeed carbon monoxide was the cause, it was a preventable tragedy. Detectors, which are affordable and widely available, save lives. They give families a chance to respond before it's too late. Proper ventilation, regular maintenance of appliances, and awareness about the risks of running vehicles inside garages can mean the difference between life and death. This is not speculation or sensationalism. It's public safety. And as painful as it is to say, sometimes it takes a tragedy like this for people to pay attention. If Lyric and Deuce's story can remind just one household to check their detectors, to install one if they don't have it, then perhaps their legacy extends beyond memory into protection. But beyond the public awareness dimension, there is the enduring question of how we, as a community, hold on to their memory. Lyric's life was not defined by her death. She was an entrepreneur, a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. She was a woman who turned vision into reality and did so while carrying the responsibilities of motherhood. Her boutique, Lyric's Closet, represented not just her style, but her determination to create something of her own. Deuce's life was not defined by the tragedy either. He was a child whose joy was infectious, whose presence brightened days, and whose bond with his mother was both visible and inspiring. Together, their story is a reminder of love, resilience, and the fragility of life. As viewers, as a community, we're left to wrestle with both sorrow and responsibility. Sorrow for the lives cut short, responsibility to learn, to protect, and to carry forward the lessons embedded in the tragedy. This is the balance every true crime story requires, not just recounting loss, but considering what it teaches us about safety, about resilience, and about the ways we honor those who are gone. So we close with this reflection. Lyric Lashundrea Backus lived 28 years on this earth. She used those years to build, to love, and to nurture. Her son, Quimby Deuce Harris Jr., lived 7 years filled with joy and companionship. Together, they leave behind a legacy that is both devastating in its abruptness and inspiring in its depth. Their story is now part of us, part of the broader conversation about safety, awareness, and remembrance. The question is, how do we honor them? How do we take their memory and ensure it fuels change? Perhaps the answer lies in both action and remembrance. Checking detectors, talking to family, spreading awareness, and keeping their names alive, not just as victims, but as lives worth celebrating. Lyric and Deuce. A mother and son, a duo inseparable in life, and tragically, inseparable in death. Their light may have been extinguished far too soon, but the echoes of who they were, her drive, his laughter, remain with all who knew them and all who hear their story today. And so I ask you, the viewer, how do we ensure their legacy endures? How do we protect families from dangers that lurk silently in their homes? The conversation doesn't end here. It begins with each of us. Share their story, honor their lives, and let their memory guide us toward a safer tomorrow.